The man in the red suit only comes when I'm working. I thought he was just another rich customer until federal agents stormed the restaurant and cuffed him for racketeering, and that's when I realized he'd been watching me for 7 years. He knows about my daughter, my ex who stole from him, and the apartment I just moved into that he arranged. Now his rival is watching me from across the street, and I just became the pressure point in a war I didn't know I was fighting. The alley behind the Gilded Vine smells like wet concrete and cigarette breaks. I press my palm to the steel door and tell myself what I always do: 6 hours, smiles only, count the tips, don't count on anyone. The chandeliers make the room look warmer than it feels. Inside, the scent shifts to truffle oil and money, the kind that doesn't ask prices because prices bend for it. 6 hours. That's all I need to survive. 6 hours of remembering wine pairings, of calculating each smile against tomorrow's pharmacy bill, of keeping Riley's inhaler prescription current. 6 hours before I can crawl back to my sleeping 6-year-old, whose breathing I check 3 times before I let myself rest. At 28, I never imagined I'd be the woman in the yellow uniform, the one whose daughter asks why other kids' moms are home at bedtime. The weight of single motherhood isn't romantic, it's exact. It's knowing that if I call in sick, we eat ramen for a week. It's memorizing which tables tip 15% versus 20, and smiling the same width for both. I inhale the October air, cold enough to remind me I need a better coat, mild enough that I can wait another month then push through into the light. The Gilded Vine isn't your typical restaurant. Nestled where the financial district pretends to have culture, it caters to men who measure success in Patek Philippes and offshore accounts. The interior is all dark mahogany, amber lighting pooling like liquid gold, and leather so soft it apologizes for your bank balance. This is where deals close over Chateauneuf-du-Pape, where the wealthy come not just to eat but to be witnessed eating. You're cutting it close, Shirley. Marco, the floor manager, catches me at the staff entrance, his perpetually tired eyes doing a quick inventory. Table 17's been reserved. I glance at the clock on the wall, still 2 minutes early. Table 17? I thought Thursdays were light. Something shifts in Marco's expression. The same look he gets when health inspectors arrive unannounced. Corner banquet. Under the chandelier. Mr. Kendall. The way Marco says the name, a slight drop in volume. A flicker of something between respect and warning makes my skin prickle with attention. I've noticed that table before. Always reserved on my shifts, positioned just so. Partial concealment behind the wine walls glow, but with a clear sightline to the entire room. I've caught glimpses of the man who sits there, expensive suit the color of Merlot, never dining, always observing. The managers straighten their spines when he arrives. The sommelier present bottles like offerings. Is there something I should know? I ask, tying my black apron with practiced efficiency. Marco hesitates, choosing his words with the care of someone who's signed an NDA. Give him your best service. He tips generously. A pause. And Shirley? Don't ask questions he doesn't invite. The advice isn't necessary. I perfected the art of invisibility years ago, after Riley's father disappeared with our savings and left behind debt like a parting gift. I learned to become exactly what people expected. Efficient, pleasant, forgettable. I take orders, deliver perfection, and vanish until needed. It's safer that way. Easier to keep my head down and focus on what matters, giving Riley the childhood I'm barely holding together. As I emerge onto the floor, the Gilded Vine is already filling with its usual clientele, low conversations about market corrections, restrained laughter over oysters, the soft clink of crystal touching crystal. Piano music drifts through the space like expensive cologne. I make my way toward the corner banquet, notepad ready, professional smile assembled with the precision of someone who's practiced in mirrors. I feel him before I see him. It's strange. Like the air pressure changes. Like every conversation in the room suddenly orbits one fixed point. The chandelier seems to focus its light differently, pooling golden and deliberate. When I look up, my practiced smile falters. He's alone tonight, no business associates, no date, just a man in a deep red suit that probably cost more than 3 months of my rent. The suit is cut with the kind of precision that whispers rather than shouts, fabric that catches light like poured wine. But it's not the suit that stops my breath. It's his eyes. Dark, focused, observing everything with the intensity of someone who's used to seeing through walls. When his gaze settles on me, I feel strangely exposed, as if he's reading a book I didn't know I'd written. Good evening, sir. My voice comes out steadier than I expected, muscle memory carrying me through. My name is Shirley. I'll be taking care of your table tonight. He doesn't respond immediately. Instead, He studies me the way someone studies a chessboard 3 moves before checkmate. Up close, I notice other details. A slim watch that probably keeps time in 3 time zones. The faint scent of something woodsy and exclusive that seems to erase the truffles and wine. The absolute stillness of someone who's never rushed in his life. Shirley, he repeats, my name sounding different in his voice, deeper, deliberate, as if he's testing how it feels. Is that short for something? The question catches me off guard. Patrons rarely ask my name, let alone what it means. Most don't even make eye contact. Just Shirley, I answer, recovering. What can I start you with this evening? A slight smile curves his mouth, so brief I might have imagined it. Whatever you recommend. He pauses. And Shirley? Take your time. The words land with weight, as if he's communicating something beyond wine selections. His eyes hold mine for a beat longer than comfortable. Not aggressive, not flirtatious, just present in a way that makes my pulse quicken. I nod and retreat, feeling his gaze following me all the way to the bar. That's my first conscious encounter with Monty Kendall, though I'll later learn he's been timing his reservations to my posted schedule for weeks. The night unfolds in its usual rhythm, the endless dance of orders and delivery, of reading tables before they signal, of making people feel attended without ever truly being seen. But throughout my entire shift, I remain acutely aware of his presence, of his gaze finding me whenever I move through his sightline. When I deliver his second glass, a 2015 Burgundy, he requested, only if you drink it yourself. His fingers brush mine as he accepts the stem. The contact lasts barely a second, but it sends an unexpected jolt up my arm. Do you enjoy working here, Shirley? He asks suddenly, his voice low enough that I have to lean slightly closer. The question is too personal for the professional distance I maintain. It pays the bills, I answer carefully, already stepping back. He studies me for a moment, then reaches into his jacket and withdraws a black card, placing it on the marble tabletop. I'm finished for the evening. I nod, taking the card to process his bill. When I return with the receipt, he's already filled in the tip line, an amount that makes my eyes widen despite my best efforts at composure. It's more than I'd make in 3 full shifts. Thank you, I say quietly, unable to completely mask my surprise. This is very generous. You have a daughter. It's not a question. My spine straightens instinctively, every protective instinct flaring. Excuse me? He gestures subtly toward my wrist, where Riley's beaded bracelet sits uneven, colorful, held together with 6-year-old determination and too much glue. I wear it every shift, a tangible reminder of what I'm working for, of who's waiting for me to come home. The bracelet, he says simply, those are clearly made by small hands. My fingers move reflexively to the cheap plastic beads. My daughter made it, I admit, uncertain why I'm sharing this with a stranger. She's 6. Something shifts in his expression, a softening so brief I might have imagined it, followed by something darker, almost melancholy. Children should have their mothers at night, he says, his voice carrying unexpected weight, as if he's speaking from experience rather than judgment. Before I can respond, before I can even process what he means, he stands, buttoning his jacket with practiced ease. Until Thursday, Shirley. It's not until he's gone that I realize he spoke as if my serving him again was already decided, as if some agreement had been reached that I wasn't aware of making. I slip the receipt into my apron pocket and try to ignore how my hands shake as I clear his table. Thank you for sticking around with me, my wonderful story family. If you're already hooked in for today's story and ready to enjoy it, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow, I will be giving you another story just as interesting as this one, and you don't want to miss it. Now let us begin. The next day passes in its usual blur of barely controlled chaos. Morning sprint to get Riley to school before the late bell, collapsing into 3 hours of sleep that never feels like enough. Laundry in the basement with quarters I've been saving. Grocery shopping where I calculate every item twice, once for need, once for whether we can survive without it. When I pick up Riley from after-school care, she's wearing her inhaler on a lanyard around her neck, the school's new policy after last month's close call. She launches into a story about the class hamster, her small hand warm in mine, and I push aside thoughts of chandelier-lit restaurants and men in red suits who ask too many questions. But that night, as I tuck Riley into bed, her small fingers wrap around my wrist, tracing the uneven beads of the bracelet she made. Mama, why do you have to work when it's dark outside? The question lands like a weight on my chest. Because that's when Mama makes the best tips, baby, and tips mean we can get you new books. But I already have books. Her logic is 6-year-old simple. I want you to read them with me. I kiss her forehead, breathing in the scent of strawberry shampoo and innocence. Soon, Riley. I promise. Soon we'll have more time together. It's a lie I tell us both, because the truth is too heavy. There is no soon for women like me. There's only survival, measured in 6-hour shifts, in shallow breaths, in beaded bracelets that cost nothing and mean everything. Thursday arrives faster than I expect. As I prepare for my shift, I find myself taking unusual care, adding mascara I usually save for special occasions, wearing my hair down instead of in its usual practical bun. I tell myself it's just because better presentation means better tips, but a small, honest voice whispers that I'm lying. Thursday night at the Gilded Vine moves with the precision of expensive machinery. I'm 3 hours into my shift, carrying a tray of champagne flutes to table 9, when my phone vibrates in my apron pocket. I ignore it, house rules, and besides, Riley's school knows to call only in emergencies. It vibrates again. Then again. My stomach drops. I set down the tray with hands that suddenly feel too light, too disconnected from my body, and slip into the narrow hallway by the kitchen. The screen shows 4 missed calls from Riley's after-school program, and 1 voicemail I don't have time to listen to before the phone rings again. Miss McDaniel? The director's voice is professionally calm in that way that makes my chest tighten. We need you to come pick up Riley immediately. What happened? Is she okay? My voice comes out sharper than I intend, carrying the edge of every nightmare I've had since she was born. She's stable, but she's having difficulty breathing. Her inhaler isn't helping as much as it should, and her fever just spiked to 102. We've already called. I'll be right there. I'm already moving. Already doing calculations that don't add up. The after-school program is 25 minutes by bus. Then I'd need to get Riley to urgent care, maybe the ER if her breathing gets worse. No car. $17 in my wallet. A Friday shift I can't afford to miss tomorrow if I leave tonight. None of it matters. Riley comes first. Riley always comes first. I push back through the dining room, searching for Marco, my apron still on, my mind racing through impossible logistics. The crowded ER on a Thursday night. The wait time. Riley's small body struggling for air while I fill out paperwork I can't afford to complete. I don't see Monty until I nearly collide with him near the wine wall. Surely. His hand steadies my elbow, his voice dropping to that low register I'm beginning to recognize. What's wrong? I have to go. My daughter, she's sick. She can't breathe properly. I need to... The words tumble out fractured, unprofessional. Exactly the kind of thing you don't say to patrons. But Monty isn't looking at me like a patron. He's looking at me like someone reading a situation 3 moves ahead. My car is outside, he says simply. I'll take you. I can't, you don't have to... Surely. Just my name, but spoken with enough quiet authority that I stop spiraling. Your daughter needs you now. Let me help. I should refuse. Every instinct I've developed over 28 years of learning that nothing comes free tells me to refuse. But Riley's face flashes in my mind, her small chest working too hard, her eyes wide with the fear that comes when your body betrays you. Okay, I whisper. Okay, thank you. The same black car I'd seen idling in the alley is waiting at the curb, engine running. Monty opens the door himself, no security detail tonight, and I slide into leather seats that smell like money I'll never have. He follows, sitting across from me in the facing seat, and taps twice on the privacy partition. Where is she? He asks, pulling out his phone. Bright Futures after school. It's on. I know where it is. He's already typing, his thumbs moving with surprising speed across the screen. Does she have asthma? Yes. She's had it since she was 3. Her inhaler usually works, but when she gets a fever, the inflammation makes it worse. Monte finishes, still typing. He glances up, seeing my surprise. My sister had asthma as a child. I recognize the pattern. Had. Past tense. I don't ask. The car moves through traffic with unsettling efficiency, as if red lights simply choose not to apply to us. Monty makes 3 phone calls in Italian, 1 brief. 2 longer, his voice shifting into a language that sounds like expensive wine tastes. Where are we going? I ask when he ends the last call. The urgent care on Maple is closest, but the ER at County might be better if... We're going to Riverside Medical, Monty says. Dr. Helena Chen is a pediatric pulmonologist. She's waiting for us. I blink. I don't have an appointment. They won't even see us without... She's waiting. Monte repeats, his tone making it clear that appointments are a concept that applies to other people. She specializes in pediatric respiratory emergencies. She's the best. The best. As in, the kind of specialist whose waiting list is measured in months, whose fees require insurance I don't have and payment plans that laugh at people like me. Monte, I can't afford. It's handled. You don't even know what it costs. His dark eyes meet mine, and for the first time since I met him, I see something that might be irritation. Shirley, your daughter is struggling to breathe. We can discuss finances later. Right now, we get her help. The car pulls up to Bright Futures, and I'm out before it fully stops. Inside, Riley sits in the director's office, her small body hunched forward in the breathing position I've seen too many times, elbows on knees, shoulders high, trying to make space for air that won't come easily. Mama. Her voice is thin, reedy, and hearing it cracks something in my chest. I'm here, baby. I'm right here. I kneel in front of her, brushing damp hair from her feverish forehead. Her inhaler sits on the desk, used twice in the last hour, according to the log sheet. The director starts explaining protocols, but Monty is already lifting Riley with a gentleness that contradicts everything about his usual controlled presence. Hello, Riley, he says, his voice softening in a way I didn't know it could. My name is Monty. Your mama and I are going to take you to see a very good doctor who helps kids breathe easier. Is that okay? Riley's fever-bright eyes study him with 6-year-old directness. Are you Mama's friend? Monty glances at me, something complicated crossing his features. Yes, he answers simply. I'm your Mama's friend. In the car, Riley sits between us, her small body leaning heavily into my side. Monty has already removed his jacket and draped it over her like a blanket deep red fabric against her pink school shirt, an image that will stay with me longer than it should. He doesn't try to fill the silence with false reassurances. He simply makes another call, this time in English, confirming our arrival time with someone named Dina. Riverside Medical Center is not county hospital. The lobby has actual art on the walls, seating that looks comfortable, lighting that doesn't make you feel sicker just by standing under it. We bypass the emergency room entirely. Monty simply walks us through a side entrance where a woman in professional attire is waiting with a wheelchair. Mr. Kendall, this way, please. We're escorted to a private examination room where Dr. Chen is already reviewing something on a tablet. She's younger than I expected, maybe 40, with efficient movements and kind eyes that go straight to Riley. Hello, sweetheart. I hear you're having a hard time breathing tonight. What follows is the most thorough medical attention Riley has ever received. Pulse oximeter, temperature, lung function tests I didn't know existed. Doctor Chen explains everything in language Riley can understand, making it feel less like an emergency and more like a science experiment. Asthma exacerbation triggered by what looks like the start of a respiratory infection. Doctor, Chen finally announces. Not uncommon, but we caught it early. I'm going to start her on a nebulizer treatment, prescribe a stronger rescue inhaler, and give you antibiotics for the infection. She turns to me, lowering her voice. She'll be fine, Miss McDaniel. Children are remarkably resilient. But I want to see her back in a week for a follow-up, and if her breathing worsens at all tonight, you bring her straight here, not the ER. Here, directly to this floor. I nod, trying not to think about follow-up appointments I can't schedule, prescriptions I'll need to figure out how to fill. About the bill, I start. Already handled, Doctor, Chen says with a small smile, her gaze flicking briefly to where Monty stands near the door, giving us space but remaining present. Focus on your daughter. Paperwork can wait. 90 minutes later, Riley is breathing easier, clutching a stuffed bear that mysteriously appeared from somewhere in Monty's apparently endless resources. The nebulizer worked. The fever is dropping. Doctor, Chen has declared her stable enough to go home with strict instructions, and 3 prescriptions that I find, when we stop at the 24-hour pharmacy, have already been filled and paid for. In the car on the way back to my apartment, Riley falls asleep against my side, her breathing finally steady and deep. Monty watches us from across the seat, his expression unreadable in the passing streetlights. Thank you, I say quietly, the words feeling massively inadequate. I don't know how I can ever. You don't need to thank me, Monty interrupts gently, and you certainly don't need to repay me. But Dr. Chen, the medication, all of this. Surely. He leans forward slightly. When someone you care about needs help, you help. No calculations, no conditions. You just help. The phrasing catches me, someone you care about, but I don't have the emotional bandwidth to unpack it right now. The car stops in front of my building, and Monty moves to open his door. You don't have to, I start. I'm walking you to your door, he says, his tone making it clear this isn't negotiable. It's late. He carries Riley up the 2 flights of stairs while I fumble with my keys, and when we reach my apartment door, he carefully transfers her sleeping weight back into my arms. Do you want to come in? I could make coffee or... The words feel strange in my mouth, this small offering against the enormity of what he's done. No. Monta steps back, creating deliberate distance. She needs to rest. So do you. He reaches into his jacket and withdraws a plain white card, pressing it into my free hand. A phone number, nothing else. If you need anything, he says. Anything at all. Day or night. Monty, I can't keep. You can. His eyes hold mine. And you will, because tomorrow Riley might need something else and you won't have time to be stubborn about it. He's already turning, already heading back down the stairs before I can argue, before I can explain that accepting help is how you lose control of your life, how debts grow into chains you can't break. I watch until he disappears around the corner, then carry my daughter inside, her breathing finally steady, my hand still clutching a card that feels heavier than it should. In the quiet of our small apartment, I tuck Riley into bed and stand watching her chest rise and fall with the easy rhythm that every parent of an asthmatic child learns to cherish. When I finally look at the card Monte gave me, I notice something I missed before. On the back in precise handwriting, just 2 words. No conditions. I should throw it away. I should recognize this for what it is, the beginning of an entanglement I can't afford. Instead, I slip it into my wallet, next to Riley's school photo and the $17 that will have to stretch until Friday's tips. Some debts, I'm beginning to realize, aren't measured in money, and that's what terrifies me most. I return to work Friday with Riley's breathing stable and my own sense of balance completely shattered. The gilded vine feels different now. Or maybe I'm the one who's different. I can't stop thinking about the way Monty carried my daughter up the stairs, the careful distance he maintained at my door, the card with no conditions written on the back like a promise I don't know how to believe. Marco pulls me aside during pre-shift. Everything okay with your little girl? She's fine. Thank you for understanding about Thursday. Kendall called personally. Marco says, his tone careful. Said to take you off the schedule whenever you need. Family emergency policy paid. I blink. We don't have a paid family emergency policy. We do now. Marco's expression is unreadable. Restaurant-wide. He had it added to all employee contracts this morning. I should feel grateful. Instead, I feel the first creep of something that might be alarm. The sense that my life is being quietly rearranged by someone with the power to rewrite rules I didn't know could be changed. The envelope appears Tuesday morning. I arrive early for the lunch shift. Monte only comes for dinner service, which means I've had 3 nights off from the weight of his attention. My locker is standard issue. Metal, dented, secured with a combination lock that probably stopped being secure somewhere around 2008. The envelope sits on top of my folded street clothes. It's cream-colored, heavy paper stock, unsealed. No writing on the outside. For a moment I just stare at it, my heart doing something complicated in my chest. Then I lift it with fingers that already know this is going to change something. Inside, a cashier's check made out to me, and a phone number written on matching cardstock in precise handwriting I'm beginning to recognize. The amount on the check makes my breath catch not quite a year's rent, but close enough that the difference doesn't matter. Enough for Riley's school supplies for the next 3 years. Enough to rebuild the emergency fund Ryan emptied when he left. Enough to stop calculating every grocery item twice. Enough to feel like a trap closing around my throat. The cardstock reads simply, "For Riley's future. Use it or don't. That's your choice." The number is for questions, not conditions. I shove the envelope into my bag and work my entire shift with it burning a hole through the leather, through my consciousness, through every reason I've built for why I don't need help from men who arrive in black cars and bend the world to their will. 3 days. That's how long I stare at the check. It sits on my kitchen counter like a ticking bomb, visible every time I make Riley's breakfast, every time I count coins for laundry, every time I check my bank balance and watch the numbers refuse to grow fast enough. Rent is due in 12 days. Riley needs new shoes, her toes are cramping in the current pair, but she hasn't complained yet because she's 6 and already learned that complaining about money makes Mama's face do that thing where it looks like smiling but isn't. The prescriptions from Dr. Chen were covered, but the follow-up appointment won't be. The inhaler refills won't be. The inevitable winter cold that will trigger another asthma attack won't be. I know what the smart choice is. The survival choice. I also know what it costs to accept money from a man who watches you like you're a problem he's already solved. On the 4th day, I pick up the phone. The woman who answers sounds like she was born speaking in measured, professional tones. Mr. Kendall's office. My name is Shirley McDaniel. I was given this number. Miss McDaniel? Yes. There's no surprise in her voice, which means Monty told her I'd call, or knew I would. My name is Dina. How can I assist you? There's been a mistake. The check, it's too much. I can't accept. There's no mistake, Dina interrupts smoothly. Mr. Kendall was quite specific about the amount. But I don't understand what he wants in return. Silence. Then, with a hint of something that might be approval, Mr. Kendall prefers anonymity in his charitable contributions, Miss McDaniel. Use the funds or don't. There are no strings attached. No expectations beyond hoping it helps your daughter's future. Charitable contributions? My voice rises slightly. I'm not a charity case. No, Dina agrees. You're a single mother working double shifts to provide for her child. Mr. Kendall respects that. He simply wanted to make it easier. Why? That, Dina says with polite finality, is a question for Mr. Kendall. Will there be anything else? I stare at the check, at the number that could mean stability, or entanglement, safety, or something more dangerous than debt. If I cash this, I say slowly, it doesn't mean anything else. No obligations. None whatsoever. You have my word and Mr. Kendall's. After I hang up, I sit at my kitchen table for 20 minutes. The check between my hands. Riley's laughter drifting from her bedroom where she's making her stuffed animals have elaborate conversations about dinosaurs. Finally, I make a decision. The bank teller's eyes widen slightly at the amount, but the check clears without issue. I open a separate savings account not linked to my checking, not accessible by debit card. Money I can't accidentally spend on groceries or rent, or the hundreds of small emergencies that drain my account every month. For Riley's future is what I title the account, borrowing Monty's words because they feel like armor against temptation. I will not touch this money for bills. Only for Riley's education, her health, her actual future. That way, it's not help, it's investment. It's not dependence, it's a gift I'm stewarding properly. These are the lies I tell myself so I can sleep that night. Monty returns Thursday, exactly when I knew he would. I'm ready this time, or I tell myself I am. But when he walks through the entrance at 5 to 10, exactly 10 minutes after my shift starts, wearing a suit so dark red it looks black in the wrong light, I feel the same shift in air pressure, the same magnetic pull I've been trying to convince myself I imagined. He sits at his usual table. I approach with my notepad and professional smile, the weight of the check I cashed sitting heavy in my chest. Good evening, Mr. Kendall. Surely. His eyes search mine. How is Riley? Better. The medication helped. Thank you for... I pause, unsure how to finish. Thank you for saving my daughter? Thank you for rearranging my entire sense of what help looks like? I'm glad, he says simply, and I can see he means it. The usual? Of course. But when I return with his burgundy, he stops me before I can retreat. Sit. Just for a moment. I'm working. Surely. Just my name, but spoken with enough quiet insistence that I find myself sliding into the booth opposite him, acutely aware of Marco's gaze from across the room. I cash the check, I say before he can speak. But I need you to understand something. It's in a separate account. For Riley only school, medical, her future. I'm not using it for rent or bills or anything that's my responsibility. Monte takes a slow sip of his wine, and I swear I see amusement flicker in his dark eyes. You're setting terms on a gift. I'm protecting my pride. Your pride was never in question. He leans forward slightly. Shirley, I don't want anything from you except to know that Riley has what she needs. That's all. Can you accept that? No one just gives away money without expecting something. Then consider me the exception. His gaze holds mine. Or consider that maybe what I get in return is knowing you'll sleep better at night. Is that so hard to believe? Yes, I want to say. Because kindness like that doesn't exist in my world. Because men who give without taking are myths, like unicorns or living wages. But I just nod and slip out of the booth, carrying his words with me like stones in my pockets. The rhythm between us shifts after that. Monty still comes only on my nights, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, but now there's an awareness between us that crackles like static electricity. Eye contact across the wine wall that lasts a beat too long. The way his gaze follows me through the dining room. Not possessive, but present, as if he's memorizing something. One Saturday, I catch him watching me handle a difficult table, a finance bro who's had too much scotch and not enough manners. Monty's jaw tightens and one of his security guards shifts slightly, but I handle it with the skill of someone who's been navigating drunk men since I was old enough to hold a tray. When I pass his table later, he says quietly, "You're good at this. Better than this place deserves." It's the closest he's come to acknowledging that he sees more than just a waitress in a yellow uniform. It pays the bills. I reply automatically, but the words feel hollow now. It shouldn't have to be this hard. I don't have an answer for that, so I just refill his wine and move on. The second envelope appears 3 weeks later. Not in my locker this time. Dina slides it across the host stand between lunch and dinner service, her expression professionally neutral. Miss McDaniel, Mr. Kendall asked me to provide you with some information. Inside, a brochure for Brighton Charter School. Riley's name already highlighted on a tour schedule for the following week. And underneath, something that makes my hands go cold. Keys. 2 keys on a simple ring, attached to an address I recognize 3 blocks from the Gilded Vine, in the building with the security cameras and the door that actually locks. A sticky note in Monty's precise handwriting. Shorter commute. Better locks. View the apartment before deciding. Rent controlled. Lease in your name only. No obligations. I look up at Dina, who's already turning to leave. Wait. I can't. This is too much. Mr. Kendall anticipated you might say that. Dina replies smoothly. He asked me to remind you that you're currently spending 45 minutes each way on public transit. That's 90 minutes per day you could be spending with Riley. He's simply offering an alternative. An alternative that costs significantly less than market rate with a lease that protects you from increases. View it or don't, Miss McDaniel, but at least look before you decide. She's gone before I can argue further, leaving me holding keys that feel like they unlock more than just doors. That night, Monty sits at his table, drinking wine he never finishes, watching me with eyes that see too much. And I realize with dawning certainty that somewhere between the emergency room and the envelope, between the check I cashed and the keys I'm holding, I've stopped being invisible. Monty Kendall sees me. Completely. Dangerously. And I don't know if that's salvation or the beginning of something I won't be able to walk away from. I view the apartment on my day off. 3 blocks from the Gilded Vine. Just like Dina promised. The building has actual security. A camera system that works. A front door that locks automatically. Windows that don't rattle when trucks pass. The apartment itself is modest but clean. 2 bedrooms, a kitchen with appliances from this decade, a bathroom where all the fixtures match. Riley runs from room to room, her voice echoing off walls that don't have water stains. Mama, I could have my own room. Can we get it, please? I stand in the living room, calculating rent I can almost afford, wondering what the catch is, knowing there has to be one. But the lease Dina left is legitimate rent-controlled, my name only, no cosigner required. Below market rate, yes, but not suspiciously so. Just easier. Like everything Monty touches becomes easier, and I can't decide if that's generous or terrifying. I sign the lease that afternoon, telling myself I'm doing it for Riley's safety, not because Monty's quiet attention is starting to feel like gravity. Saturday night. Week 6 of Monty's pattern. The Gilded Vine is packed, some corporate event has overflow seating, and my section is chaos in expensive suits. I'm carrying a tray of entrees when I see him walk through the entrance. Caleb. My ex-boyfriend moves with the loose-limbed swagger of someone 3 drinks past sober, his eyes scanning the dining room with predatory focus. When his gaze lands on me, something ugly crosses his face. I freeze mid-step. Years of survival instinct screaming at me to retreat to the kitchen, to disappear, to become invisible the way I learned to when he'd come home angry during those last months before Riley was born. But I'm trapped in the middle of the floor, holding a tray I can't set down as Caleb cuts through the room toward me. Shirley. My name sounds wrong in his mouth, slurred and possessive. Need to talk to you. I'm working, Caleb. You need to leave. I keep my voice low, professional, praying he'll take the exit I'm offering. He doesn't. Not leaving till we talk. He reaches for my wrist, his grip tight enough to hurt, tight enough that I drop the tray with a crash that echoes through suddenly silent room. The Gilded Vine freezes conversations, stop mid-sentence. Forks pause halfway to mouths. The piano player's hands still on the keys. Let go of me, I say quietly, every eye in the restaurant now on us. You think you're too good now? Working at this fancy place, ignoring my calls? Mr. Bennett. The voice comes from behind me, low, controlled, absolutely glacial. Monty's voice, but stripped of every shred of warmth I've heard when he speaks my name. Caleb's grip loosens slightly as Monty steps into view, moving with the unhurried precision of someone who's never had to rush because obstacles simply move themselves. Let go of my waitress, Monty says, each word carrying the weight of indisputable fact. Your waitress? Caleb laughs, the sound harsh and ugly. Is that what she told you? She's nothing of yours. Monty's tone drops another degree, and I feel the room's temperature change with it. This is my dining room, and you're going to remove your hand. Now. That's when Caleb's alcohol-soaked brain catches up to what Monty just said. Your dining room? Mine. Monty takes one step closer, and I see something in his eyes I've never seen before, something cold and absolute and utterly without compromise. The dining room, the kitchen, the building, the entire block if we're being precise. So when I tell you to let go of my employee, understand that you're not just being rude. You're trespassing. The room seems to tilt. The entire block. Caleb releases my wrist like it's burned him, but his face twists with alcohol-fueled bravado. You think you scare me? I know people. People who listen when I tell them about... He doesn't finish. Security appears from nowhere, not Monty's usual detail, but restaurant security I didn't even know we had. 3 men, professional and efficient, surrounding Caleb in a formation that looks choreographed. Escort Mr. Bennett out, Monty says without looking away from Caleb. If he returns, call the police and have him arrested for trespassing. I'll sign the complaint personally. Caleb snarls something about lawyers and revenge as security guides him toward the exit, his threats echoing back through the dining room until the door closes behind him. The silence that follows is deafening. Monty turns to me, and his expression shifts completely, the ice melting into something like concern. Are you hurt? I'm shaking, I realize. My wrist throbs where Caleb grabbed it, and my professional composure is cracking at the edges. I'm fine. I'm sorry, I didn't know he'd... You have nothing to apologize for. Monty glances at Marco, who's appeared at my elbow. Shirley's done for the night. Pay her full shift plus 20%. Of course, Mr. Kendall. Mr. Kendall. Not sir. Not the gentleman at table 17. His name, spoken with the deference usually reserved for owners. Because he is the owner. The room knows it now. I know it now. The mystery of why managers straighten when he enters. Why his table is always available. Why one phone call can rearrange hospital protocols, it's all suddenly terribly clear. I'll take you home, Monty says quietly, his hand hovering near my elbow but not quite touching. I should refuse. Should demand answers. Should do anything except nod mutely and follow him toward the back exit while every staff member in the Gilded Vine watches with expressions ranging from shock to calculation. But I'm still shaking, and Monty's presence feels like the only solid thing in a room that won't stop tilting. The alley behind the Gilded Vine smells like rain and old cigarettes, the same scent that greeted me my first night. But everything else has changed. I lean against the brick wall, trying to steady my breathing, trying to process what just happened. Monty stands a careful distance away, giving me space while somehow still being a shield between me and the door. You own the restaurant, I say finally. Not a question. I own the holding company that owns the restaurant, Monty corrects, as if the distinction matters. Along with several other properties in the area. How many properties? Enough that I don't count anymore. I laugh, the sound slightly unhinged. And you've been sitting at my table for 2 months, letting me serve you wine, pretending to be a customer. I wasn't pretending. He turns to face me fully. I am a customer. I just happen to also be the owner. Why? The question comes out sharper than I intend. Why play games? Why not just... Because the moment you knew I owned the restaurant, this would have happened. He gestures between us. You would have seen me differently. As a boss, a threat, something to manage. Not as just someone who came to dinner. You're not just someone who comes to dinner, Monty. You rearrange hospital protocols and pay for apartments and apparently own half the city block. I struggle for words. You're everything I can't afford to trust. I know. His voice is quiet, almost sad. That's why I waited. Waited for what? For you to see me before you saw what I could do. He takes a step closer, and I don't retreat. I time my reservations to your schedule, Shirley. Every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, whichever nights you work, I'm there. I've been doing it since the second week I saw you. The admission lands like a physical thing. Why? Because watching you work is the quietest part of my week. He's close enough now that I can see the muscle working in his jaw, the careful control he's maintaining. You're competent and kind, and you don't see the money when you look at someone, you see whether they're decent. I come back because in this life I've built, there aren't many people who look at me and see someone who might just need good service and no judgment. The honesty in his voice cracks something open in my chest. Monty, I can't. I start, but I don't know how to finish. Can't get involved with my boss. Can't trust someone with this much power. Can't want someone who makes the world bend with a phone call. I'm not asking you to, he says. I'm just telling you the truth. Finally. We stand in the alley, the city breathing around us. and I realize I'm crying, silent tears tracking down my face from adrenaline and fear, and something more complicated that I don't have a name for. Monty reaches out slowly, giving me time to move away, and brushes a tear from my cheek with his thumb. The gesture is so gentle it breaks me. I close the distance between us and kiss him. It's not romantic or planned. It's desperate and terrified and honest, a kiss that tastes like relief and mistake in equal measure. His hands come up to frame my face, and for exactly 3 seconds I let myself have this. The quiet he offers, the safety I've been pretending I don't want. Then reality crashes back. I pull away, pressing my fingers to my lips, my eyes wide. I can't. This is You're My Boss, and Riley's in an apartment you arranged, and the check. All things I did before this, Monty says, his voice rough. Things that have no conditions attached, remember? But they do now, don't they? I'm backing toward the street, toward the bus stop, toward something that feels less like drowning. Now there's this, and everyone saw what happened in there. And tomorrow I'm going to be that waitress, the one who sleeps with the owner for favors. Surely. I need to go. I turn away before he can argue, before I can see whatever expression is on his face. Thank you for helping with Caleb, but I need space to think. I make it to the bus stop before the shaking starts again. When I glance back, Monty's car is still in the alley, headlights off, waiting to make sure I get on the bus safely. Even when I'm running, he's still protecting me. And that terrifies me more than anything else. By Monday, the entire staff knows. So Kendall owns the place. Sasha, the bartender, says during pre-shift, not quite looking at me. And he's been, courting you while you served him? It's not like that, I say, but the words sound weak even to me. Sure. Her tone is carefully neutral. Must be nice having friends in high places. The implications hang in the air. That my tips are because Monty arranged it, that my schedule flexibility is favoritism, that everything I've worked for is actually just handed to me by a man with power and unclear motives. Marco pulls me aside before service. Ignore the gossip. You're a good server, best we have. That hasn't changed. But everything else has, I say quietly. He doesn't disagree. That night, Monty's table sits empty. Tuesday comes and goes, still empty. By Thursday, I've convinced myself he's done, that the kiss scared him off or made him realize this entanglement was too complicated. Then Friday, my day off, Dina calls. Miss McDaniel, Mr. Kendall wanted me to inform you that he won't be dining at the Gilded Vine for the next few weeks. He felt his presence was making your work environment difficult and didn't want to add to your stress. Even in absence, he's still rearranging things for me. Is he okay? I ask before I can stop myself. He's managing, Dina says, which isn't an answer at all. He wanted you to know the apartment lease stands regardless. No conditions. His words. When she hangs up, I sit in my new kitchen with working appliances and locks that actually work, and I realize the truth. Monty Kendall isn't just powerful. He's careful, patient, and he's been methodically removing every reason I have to say no, not through force, but through making my life undeniably better. And I don't know if that makes him the answer to my prayers, or the most dangerous man I've ever met. Moving day arrives with professional movers I didn't hire, and a check to cover deposits I couldn't have scraped together on my own. I stand in my old apartment, the one with the leaky ceiling and the lock that only works if you jiggle it just right, and watch 3 efficient men in matching uniforms pack our entire life into boxes in under 2 hours. Riley bounces between them, asking questions about weight distribution and whether moving trucks have special suspension systems. Miss McDaniel? The crew chief approaches with a clipboard. Mr. Kendall's office arranged full-service packing and cleaning. We'll have everything set up in the new place by 3. You don't need to lift anything. Of course Monty arranged it. Of course he made it seamless, removed every obstacle, made sure I couldn't even claim I was too tired or too broke to accept better locks and working heat. Thank you, I manage, watching my daughter's stuffed animals disappear into labeled boxes with more care than I've ever been able to afford. Monty himself appears exactly once, not at the old apartment, not during the move, but at the new one, after the movers have left and before Riley and I arrive. I find evidence of his presence everywhere. The refrigerator stocked with Riley's favorite foods, children's books on the shelf in her new bedroom, a note on the kitchen counter in his precise handwriting. The security system code is Riley's birthday. Change it if you want. Maintenance line is on the fridge. Call for anything. M. No grand gesture, no demand for gratitude. Just practical help and then absence, giving me space to settle in without the weight of his presence. It's the most thoughtful thing anyone's ever done for me, and I hate how much that means. The Brighton charter tour happens on a Tuesday morning, Dina having arranged it with the same quiet efficiency she applies to everything involving Monty's unspoken wishes. The school is everything the public elementary isn't. Small class sizes, an actual library, windows that let in light instead of just showcasing security bars. The admissions officer, Miss Brennan, is warm and professional as she walks us through bright hallways where student artwork covers walls that aren't covered in peeling paint. "And this is our science lab," Miss Brennan says, opening a door to reveal microscopes and specimen jars and posters of the solar system. Riley's eyes go wide. "You have real dinosaur fossils?" "Replicas," Miss Brennan corrects with a smile. "But yes, we have a very robust natural science program. Did you know that the Tyrannosaurus Rex probably had feathers?" Riley launches into an explanation of theropod evolution that she absorbed from library books and YouTube videos, her small hands gesturing enthusiastically. "And their arms weren't useless. They could bench press over 400 pounds even though they looked tiny compared to their bodies." Miss Brennan's expression shifts to genuine interest. "You know quite a bit about paleontology, Riley." "It's my favorite. Well, that and space. Mama says I can be whatever I want when I grow up as long as I work hard." "Your mama is absolutely right." Miss Brennan glances at me with an approving smile, and I feel something unclench in my chest, the fear that Riley's second-hand clothes and my waitress uniform would mark us as not belonging here. After the tour, Miss Brennan takes me aside while Riley explores the playground. Riley is a delightful child, bright, curious, well-mannered. We'd be lucky to have her. The tuition. I start, already doing math that doesn't work. "We have several scholarship opportunities, Miss," Brennan interrupts gently. "Based on Riley's assessment scores and your financial documentation, I believe she'd qualify for our partial scholarship program. It would cover approximately 60% of tuition. 60% still leaves 40 I can't afford, but it's closer than I've ever been to giving Riley what she deserves. I'd like to apply," I say, my voice steadier than I feel. "Wonderful. I'll have the admissions packet sent to your home." Miss Brennan pauses. "Miss McDaniel, I should mention your application was flagged as priority review. Someone made a very generous contribution to our scholarship fund recently, with the stipulation that it assist families from the service industry." My stomach tightens. "Someone?" "Anonymous donor. But between you and me, I've learned not to look gift horses in the mouth." She smiles. "Riley deserves this opportunity. Don't let pride stand in the way of her future." As Riley and I walk to the bus stop, her small hand warm in mine, she chatters about the science lab and the library and whether they'd let her do a presentation on pterosaurs. I listen and nod and try not to think about how Monty is methodically removing every reason I have to refuse his help, not through force, but through making Riley's life undeniably better. And I don't know if that makes him generous or terrifying. Dina calls that evening after Riley's asleep. "Miss McDaniel, do you have a moment? I'd like to discuss something." Too sensitive. I sink onto my new couch, actual cushions that don't have springs poking through, and brace myself. "What is it?" "It's about your ex-partner, Caleb Bennett." Dina's tone is carefully neutral. "And how Mr. Kendall first became aware of your situation." My spine straightens. "I'm listening." 7 years ago, Mr. Kendall operated several courier services, legitimate businesses that occasionally attracted employees with less legitimate side interests. Caleb Bennett worked as a driver for one of these services. He skimmed approximately $15,000 over 6 months. The number hits me like cold water. 15,000. Enough that Caleb could have kept us afloat during my pregnancy. Instead, he'd been stealing and hiding it, right before he disappeared with what little we had left. When the theft was discovered, Dina continues, standard protocol would have been prosecution and other consequences. But when Mr. Protocolatus Corrosive, Kendall's people investigated, they learned Caleb had a pregnant girlfriend. You. 7 months along. I close my eyes, piecing together a history I didn't know existed. Mr. Kendall made a decision, Dina says quietly. He spared Caleb, had him blacklisted from the industry instead of arrested. But he also kept track, to ensure the baby Riley was safe and cared for. That's how he knew where you worked, why he started coming to the Gilded Vine. He's been watching me for years? The words come out strangled, caught between gratitude and violation. He's been ensuring you were safe, Dina corrects. There's a difference. When Riley was born healthy, when you found work, when you moved into better housing, he knew because he made it his business to know. Not to interfere, but to be ready if you needed help. But I didn't need help. I was managing. You were surviving, Miss McDaniel. Barely. Mr. Kendall saw that. And when the opportunity arose to make your life easier without revealing his involvement, he took it. The question is, can you accept that his interest in you began as responsibility but became something more? After we hang up, I sit in the dark of my new living room, processing a truth that reframes everything. Monty didn't notice me randomly. He noticed me because Caleb's theft tied us together years before I ever served him Burgundy. He's been protecting Riley, protecting me since before I knew I needed protection. And I don't know if that's romantic or the most calculated manipulation I've ever encountered. I text the number on the card he gave me. We need to talk. No more surprises. His response comes 30 seconds later. Tomorrow. After Riley's bedtime, I'll come to you. Monty arrives at 9:30, dressed down in dark jeans and a sweater that probably costs more than my monthly rent used to. He waits in the hallway until I open the door fully, giving me control of whether he enters. Come in, I say, and he does, his eyes scanning the apartment, checking locks, camera positions, sightlines, professional assessment before personal. We sit in my small living room, careful distance between us. Dina told me, I say without preamble. About Caleb. About why you first knew my name. Monty nods, his expression unreadable. I thought you should know the full truth. 7 years, Monty. You've been keeping track of me for 7 years. At first, yes. To ensure Riley was safe and you weren't suffering for Caleb's mistakes. He leans forward, elbows on his knees. But somewhere around year 3, it stopped being about responsibility. I'd check the reports Dina compiled and I'd notice things. How you never missed a shift even when Riley was sick. How you always smiled at customers even when they were rude. How you wore that bracelet she made like it was worth more than any jewelry I could buy. That doesn't make it less invasive. No, he agrees. It doesn't. But it's the truth. I saw you surviving and I wanted to help. Then I saw you thriving despite everything and I wanted to know you. So I started coming to the restaurant. Not as the owner, just as someone who wanted to sit at your table. I study his face, looking for manipulation, for the calculation that must be there. What do you want from me, Monty? Honestly? He meets my eyes. Permission. To keep helping. To be part of your life without secrets between us. To handle the trouble you can't see before it reaches you and Riley. That's not a relationship. That's you playing protector. It's both. His voice is quiet but firm. I can't turn off what I am, Shirley. I see threats. I neutralize them. It's how I've survived this long in my world. But with you, it's not just strategy. It's caring about whether you sleep at night, whether Riley has what she needs, whether you feel safe. I take a breath, steadying myself. If we do this, whatever this is, I have rules. Tell me. No more secrets. I want to know what you're involved in, even the parts you think will scare me. I hold up a finger. No guns in my sight. I don't care if you carry one, but I don't want to see it around Riley. Done. And no men at my door without notice. No security following me that I don't know about. My life stays mine. Monty considers this. I can agree to all of that with one condition. Let me handle trouble you can't see. There are people in my world who might notice you now. Let me make sure they stay away. What kind of people? The kind who think hurting someone I care about is leverage. His jaw tightens. I'm getting out, Shirley, transitioning everything legitimate. But that process takes time, and during that time, there might be threats. Then maybe we should wait, I say, even though the words hurt. Until your world is cleaner. No. The word is absolute. Because waiting means you're alone if something happens. I'd rather you know the truth and let me protect you than hide it and leave you vulnerable. We sit in silence, the weight of what we're agreeing to settling between us. Okay, I finally say. But Monty, the second you lie to me, we're done. I don't care how good your reasons are. Understood. He stands, preparing to leave, giving me space. Thank you for trusting me with this much. After he's gone, I check the locks. Good locks. Working locks, and look in on Riley. Sleeping peacefully in her new room with the dinosaur books Monty left on her shelf. I'm choosing this. Choosing him, with full knowledge of what he is and what he's offering. God help me. I'm choosing it. Across the street from the Gilded Vine, a man in a gray coat watches the entrance. Raphael Morandi has been watching for 3 weeks, learning patterns, identifying vulnerabilities. Monty Kendall thinks he's untouchable, thinks his transition to legitimacy will proceed smoothly. Raphael knows better. Everyone has pressure points. And that waitress in the yellow uniform? The one Kendall watches like she's the only person in the room? She's exactly the pressure point Raphael needs. The email arrives at 6:47 p.m. on a Saturday, right as I'm finishing Riley's dinner before my shift. Dear Miss McDaniel, we are pleased to inform you that Riley McDaniel has been accepted to Brighton Charter School for the upcoming academic year with a 75% merit scholarship. I read it 3 times, my hands shaking, tears blurring the words. 75%. More than the 60 Miss Brennan mentioned. Enough that with tips and the money Monty put aside, I can actually afford it. Riley is going to have small classes and a science lab and teachers who see her potential instead of just another kid to manage. Mama, why are you crying? Riley looks up from her chicken nuggets, concern in her wide eyes. Happy tears, baby. I crouch down and pull her into a hug. You got into the new school. The one with the dinosaur fossils. Her squeal of joy is the best sound I've heard in months. I text Monty immediately. She got in. 75% scholarship. Thank you doesn't even begin to cover it. His response comes as I'm heading out the door. She earned it. Celebrate after your shift. I'll be at my usual table. The words warm me as I take the bus 3 blocks now instead of 45 minutes. Another gift I'm still learning to accept. The October night is cold but clear, and for once the future feels less like survival and more like actual possibility. I should have known better than to trust good news. The Gilded Vine is busy when I arrive, typical Saturday crowd, corporate cards and anniversary dinners, the low hum of wealth being casually displayed. Monty sits at his corner table, and when our eyes meet across the room, he raises his wine glass slightly in acknowledgement. I'm carrying a tray of appetizers to table 12 when the front doors burst open. Not patrons. Federal agents and windbreakers with FBI emblazoned across the back, moving with coordinated precision that freezes the entire dining room mid-bite. Nobody move. This is a federal operation. Everything happens too fast and too slow simultaneously. Agents fan out, radios crackling, some heading toward the kitchen while others position themselves at exits. Patrons scramble from their seats, some trying to leave, others pulling out phones to record, a few putting hands up as if they're personally under arrest. My eyes find Monte. He hasn't moved. He sits perfectly still, wine glass still in hand, watching the lead agent approach with an expression of resignation that tells me he expected this. Prepared for it. Maybe even knew it was coming. Monty Kendall? The lead agent, a woman with steel gray hair and an expression that suggests she's done this 1,000 times, stops beside his table. Agent? Monty sets down his glass with careful precision. Reeves, FBI Financial Crimes Division. She pulls out a folded document. You're under arrest for racketeering, tax evasion, falsification of business records, and obstruction of justice. Stand up, please. The room has gone completely silent except for the whisper of phones recording, the scrape of Monty's chair as he stands without resistance. My attorney is James Chen at Morrison & Associates. Monty says calmly as Agent Reeves moves behind him with handcuffs. I'll invoke my Fifth Amendment rights to all questions until he's present. Smart man. The cuffs click closed. We've been building this case for 18 months, Mr. Kendall. Your cooperation might reduce your exposure. 18 months. Before I ever served him wine. Before Riley's emergency. Before any of this. Monty's eyes sweep the room and land on me. Even in handcuffs, even surrounded by federal agents, his expression softens when he sees my face. Shirley, don't address anyone. Agent Reeves cuts him off. You'll have your phone call. They walk him toward the entrance, agents flanking him like an honor guard for the condemned. News vans are already pulling up outside, cameras recording Monty Kendall's perp walk, and I realize with sickening clarity that this isn't just an arrest. It's theater. Someone wanted this public, humiliating, unavoidable. As Monte passes my frozen position, he says one word, so quiet only I hear it. Dina. Then he's gone, loaded into an unmarked vehicle that disappears into a swarm of flashing lights. The Gilded Vine empties within minutes. Patrons flee like roaches when the lights come on, abandoning half-eaten meals and unpaid bills. Agents remain, photographing everything, interviewing staff, treating the dining room like a crime scene because apparently that's what it is. Marco pulls me aside, his face ashen. Go home, Shirley. My shift is over. All shifts are over. He looks older suddenly, exhausted. They're shutting us down pending investigation. Health and safety review, financial audit, the works. For how long? Weeks, maybe months. He meets my eyes. Maybe permanently. The implications hit me like cold water. No job, no tips, no way to make rent even in the cheaper apartment. And Riley's tuition, even with the scholarship. Marco, I know what you need. We all do. His tone isn't unkind, just tired. But right now, you need to go home. Keep your head down. And Shirley, he drops his voice. Be careful. You're going to be part of this story whether you want to be or not. By Sunday morning, I'm all over the news. Not by name, not yet, but as the waitress reported to have a personal relationship with Kendall. Grainy photos from someone's phone show Monte at his table, show me serving him, show what I'm sure looks like intimate familiarity to anyone who doesn't understand the reality. My phone won't stop buzzing. Unknown numbers, voicemails from reporters, texts from coworkers asking if I knew, if I was involved. If the apartment and Riley's school were payments for services, the implication is clear. I'm the waitress he kept, the mistress, the woman who traded favors for favors, who slept her way into better circumstances. I turn my phone off and pull Riley closer on the couch, where we're watching dinosaur documentaries and pretending the world outside isn't actively destroying the life I'd just started to believe in. Caleb appears at my door Monday afternoon. I shouldn't let him in. The restraining order I filed after the restaurant incident is still active, but he looks terrified in a way that overrides my self-preservation instincts. 5 minutes, I say, keeping the door chain locked. Then I'm calling the police. They came to me, Shirley. The FBI. His voice shakes. They know about the money I took from Kendall's courier service. They know he covered for me. They want me to testify that he runs a criminal enterprise, that everything he touches is dirty money. My blood goes cold. What did you tell them? Nothing yet, but they're not asking. He runs a hand through his hair, and I see the tremor in his fingers. There's this other guy, Raphael Morandi. He's the one feeding them information, doctored ledgers, stuff that makes it look like Kendall's still running illegal operations. And he mentioned you, Shirley. He knows about Riley. What does that mean? It means get out. Take Riley somewhere safe. These people... He looks over his shoulder as if someone might be listening. They don't play. Morandi wants Kendall destroyed, and if you're leverage, he'll use you. I'm nobody's leverage, I'm just... You're the woman Kendall reorganized his entire life around. Caleb interrupts. Everyone knows it. His people, Morandi's people, the fucking FBI. You think they arrested him on a Saturday night at the restaurant by coincidence? They wanted you to see it. Wanted you to know he can't protect you anymore. After I close the door, lock it, chain it, check it twice, I stand with my back against the wood and try to remember how to breathe. Riley calls from her room. Mama, can we go to the park? Not today, baby. Let's stay home where it's safe. Safe. As if anywhere is safe when federal investigations and rival criminals and public shame converge on your life like a perfect storm. Dina calls Tuesday evening. Miss McDaniel. I wanted to inform you that Mr. Kendall is being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center pending arraignment. No bail has been set yet. Is he okay? The question escapes before I can stop it. He's managing. A pause. He asked me to ensure you know that your apartment lease is secured regardless of what happens to him. It's in a trust, separate from his other assets. The FBI can't touch it. Of course he thought of that. Even from detention, Monty is still trying to protect me. Dina, what's going to happen? Legally? The case is built on circumstantial evidence and testimony from unreliable sources. Mr. Kendall's attorneys are confident they can dismantle it, but the process will take time. How much time? Months. Possibly longer if it goes to trial. Another pause, longer this time. Miss McDaniel, would you consider visiting him? He won't ask his pride, won't allow it, but he's waiting, hoping. I think of Monty in handcuffs, his calm expression, the single word he said as they led him away. Dina, making sure I'd know how to reach him, even as his world collapsed. I don't know if that's smart, I say quietly. Everything I touch turns into evidence. Every connection makes things worse. Or, Dina says gently, every connection is exactly what he needs to remember why he's fighting to get out of that world. Your choice, Miss McDaniel. But visiting hours are Wednesday and Saturday afternoons. I can arrange clearance if you decide to go. After we hang up, I sit in my living room with working locks and cameras Monty installed, in the apartment he secured so I'd be safe, and I think about the man who's been protecting me since before I knew I needed protection. He's in detention because someone wanted to destroy him, because he's trying to go legitimate, because he made himself vulnerable by caring about people, about me, about Riley in a world where caring is leverage. I pull out my phone and text Dina. Wednesday, 2 p.m. I'll be there. Her response is immediate. I'll arrange everything. Thank you, Miss McDaniel. This means more than you know. I look in on Riley sleeping peacefully in her room with dinosaur posters and the stuffed bear that mysteriously appeared from Monty's endless resources. Tomorrow, I'll go see the man who rearranged his life around my work schedule, who paid for my daughter's safety, who told me the truth even when it would have been easier to lie. Tomorrow, I'll walk into a detention center and face whatever comes next. Because Monty stood beside me when Caleb attacked. Because he gave Riley a future. Because somewhere between the wine wall and the emergency room, between envelopes and honesty, I stopped being able to imagine my life without him in it. And that terrifies me almost as much as everything else. The Metropolitan Detention Center smells like industrial cleaner and institutional despair. I pass through 3 security checkpoints, surrendering my phone, my bag, even the beaded bracelet Riley made me. Each locked door that closes behind me feels like crossing a threshold I can't uncross, entering a world I've spent my entire life trying to avoid. Dina arranged everything: visitor clearance, approved list status, even a contact name for the guard who escorts me through fluorescent-lit corridors to a stark interview room. 20 minutes, the guard says, gesturing to a metal table bolted to the floor, 2 chairs on opposite sides. Keep your hands visible. No physical contact. Then I'm alone with the hum of ventilation and the weight of what I'm about to do. The door opens. Monte walks in wearing orange detention scrubs that look absurd on him, wrong, like seeing a wolf in a cage. But his posture is the same controlled grace, his dark eyes finding mine with an intensity that makes my breath catch even in this terrible place. He sits across from me, and for a moment we just look at each other. You came, he says finally, his voice rough in a way I've never heard before. You said my name when they arrested you, told me to call Dina. I keep my hands flat on the table, resisting the urge to reach for him. So I'm here. You shouldn't be. But his eyes say the opposite: relief and gratitude, and something more desperate that he's trying to contain. This is going to get worse before it gets better, Shirley. Being associated with me right now. I'm already associated with you. The news made sure of that. I lean forward slightly. So stop trying to protect me from choices I've already made and just tell me the truth. All of it. No careful omissions. No protection from things you think will scare me. Monty studies my face, searching for something. Then he nods. A decision made. The Kendall Syndicate, he begins, his voice dropping lower, started as my father's enterprise. Money laundering mostly. Moving cash through legitimate businesses, restaurants, shipping companies, real estate developments, taking dirty money and making it clean enough that it could be deposited, invested, used. I force myself not to react, to just listen. When my father died 8 years ago, I inherited the operation. Not because I wanted it, but because the alternative was watching it fracture into violence as others competed for control. So I took over, made it more efficient, less violent, but still illegal. And now I'm trying to dismantle it. He leans back, the chair scraping against concrete. For 3 years I've been shifting assets into legitimate holdings. Real businesses with clean books. The restaurants, the shipping company, the real estate, they're all profitable on their own now. They don't need dirty money to function. Then why is the FBI arresting you? Because transition takes time. And because Rafael Morandi, a competitor, wants my territory. He's been feeding the FBI doctored evidence ledgers that make it look like I'm still actively laundering, still running courier schemes, still everything I'm trying to leave behind. I process this, fitting pieces together. The wiretap at the Gilded Vine. That was him? Almost certainly. Illegal installation, which is why my attorney thinks we can get it thrown out. But the damage is done. The FBI has recordings, real or edited, of conversations that sound incriminating. Are they? Incriminating? Monty meets my eyes without flinching. Some of them, yes. Because 3 years isn't long enough to erase 20 years of operation. I've made legitimate profits, but I've also closed old accounts, settled old debts, managed transitions that required acknowledging what things used to be. The honesty is brutal, unflinching. This is Monte without the red suit, without the wine and the chandelier-lit restaurant, just a man in orange scrubs admitting to crimes under fluorescent lights that hide nothing. Why did you spare Caleb? I ask quietly. Really? Monty's jaw tightens. When my people brought me evidence of his theft, standard protocol was prosecution. Or worse. But when they told me he had a pregnant girlfriend 7 months along. He pauses. My sister was pregnant when she died. Car accident. She was 8 months. The baby didn't survive. The pain in his voice is old but not healed. I couldn't be responsible for a child growing up without a father because I punished someone for being stupid and desperate. So I spared him, blacklisted him, made sure he couldn't steal from anyone else in my world. And I kept track. To make sure the baby was okay. Riley. Riley. His expression softens when he says her name. I got reports, just basic information. Mother and baby healthy. Working at the Gilded Vine. Managing. I told myself it was just due diligence. Making sure my mercy didn't result in a child suffering. When did it change? Year 3. A slight smile touches his lips. Sad and honest. Dina included a note in one of her reports. Subject wore a beaded bracelet that appeared homemade. She smiled at a difficult customer who shorted her tip. She does her job like it matters. And I realized I wasn't checking on you out of guilt anymore. I was checking because I needed to know you were okay. My throat tightens. So you started coming to the restaurant. Every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, whenever you worked. He leans forward, hands clasped on the table. I never meant to touch your world, Shirley. I meant to watch from a distance, make sure you had what you needed, and stay separate. But then I saw you actually work the way you remembered orders. Treated people with dignity regardless of their tips. Wore that bracelet like armor, and I wanted more than distance. You wanted what? To build you a world where you didn't have to calculate every dollar. Where Riley could have what she deserves. Where you could sleep without wondering if one missed shift means eviction. His voice drops to almost a whisper. I wanted to give you the quiet I never have. The safety my world destroys. The confession sits between us, raw and complete. Monty. I take a breath, steadying myself. I need to know, are you getting out? Actually getting out? Or is this just a pause before you go back? I'm out. The words are absolute. Win or lose this case, I'm done. I've authorized full audits of every holding. I'm dumping the remaining gray operations even if it costs me millions. I want daylight, Shirley. Clean books. Legitimate business. A life where the FBI doesn't raid my dinner. Why now? Why not 2 years ago, before all this? Because 2 years ago I didn't have a reason strong enough. He holds my gaze. Then I met a woman who measured her life in 6-hour shifts and wore her daughter's bracelet like a promise. And I realized that if I wanted to be someone worthy of her time, I needed to become someone who could stand in daylight. The words land like a physical thing, heavy and true and terrifying in their implications. If I do this, I say slowly, if I stand by you through this mess, you have to understand my terms. No more secrets. Ever. I don't care how ugly it is, I want to know. Agreed. And if you fall, Riley doesn't. Whatever happens to you, she stays protected. School, housing, safety, none of it touches her. Already arranged. Trust documents, separate from my assets. The FBI can't touch them. Then here's the hard one. I lean forward, holding his eyes. I'll stand by you if you stand in daylight. No more gray corridors. No more just one last deal. You get clean, completely, or we're done. Because I won't let Riley grow up watching her mother love a man who can't choose her over his empire. Monty's expression shifts, something like pain, like relief, like the weight of a decision he's been avoiding. You'd walk away, even after everything? Especially after everything. My voice is steady, certain. Because everything you've given me and Riley proves you're capable of being more than what you were. But you have to choose it. Not for me. For yourself. He nods slowly. Daylight. No more shadows. No more shadows, I repeat. The guard knocks on the door, 5-minute warning. Shirley. Monty's hands move toward mine, stop just short. Thank you, for coming. For not running. I'm still here, I say. But Monty, don't make me regret it. I won't. After Shirley leaves, Monty sits alone in the interview room, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry insects. I'll stand by you if you stand in daylight. The condition is simple. The execution is anything but. He's been dismantling the Kendall Syndicate for 3 years. Carefully, methodically, making sure no sudden moves create power vacuums that fill with violence. But careful is too slow. Careful leaves Morandi time to fabricate evidence, to threaten women who wear yellow uniforms and raise daughters who deserve better. Careful means Shirley waits while he plays it safe. Monty pulls out the single phone call he's permitted after meetings. Dials his attorney. James, authorize full forensic audits of every Kendall holding. Hire independent firms, ones with government credibility. I want every book open, every transaction documented, every shadow eliminated. Monty, that level of transparency could expose. That's the point. Expose everything. The good, the bad, the transitional. Show the FBI exactly what I've been doing for 3 years. Show them I'm not Mirandy's version of me. A pause. This could backfire. Give them ammunition. Or it gives them truth. Monty's jaw sets. And it forces Mirandy to either back his fabrications with evidence that doesn't exist, or overreach into territory that exposes him. You're baiting him. I'm ending this. Monty thinks of Riley's beaded bracelet, of Shirley's eyes across a metal table, of a future that requires daylight. Do it. All of it. And James? Get me out of here. I have a life to build and I can't do it from detention. I walk out of the detention center into October afternoon, light that feels too bright after the fluorescent corridors. My hands shake as I collect my belongings from the security checkpoint: phone, bag, Riley's bracelet that I immediately put back on. Dina is waiting in the parking lot, leaning against a black car that's not Monty's but carries the same air of quiet authority. How is he? She asks. Honest. Finally. I unlock my phone. Notifications flooding in, more unknown numbers, more reporters. I silence them all. Dina. The night of the arrest. The wiretap at the Gilded Vine. What about it? Monty said it was probably Mirandy's. Illegal installation. Almost certainly. But proving it. Tell Monty's lawyer to check the ceiling camera over table 20. The memory surfaces clearly. My first week at the restaurant, Marco explaining that management installed cameras after a theft. It's a blind spot for the dining room cameras, but it would have captured anyone accessing the ventilation system where wiretaps could be hidden. Dina's expression sharpens. Table 20. You're certain? I'm certain the camera is there, whether it caught anything useful. I shrug. But it's worth checking. Miss McDaniel. Dina's professional mask cracks slightly, revealing something like respect. This could be significant. Then use it. I start toward the bus stop, then pause. And Dina? Tell Monte. I meant what I said. Daylight or nothing. No exceptions. He knows. A slight smile. That's why he's already burning bridges. As I ride the bus back to my apartment, the safe one, with working locks and cameras, I think about Monty in orange scrubs making promises under terrible lights. About Riley, waiting for me to come home. About a future that requires choosing truth over comfort, daylight over shadows. I text Dina from the bus. Tell his lawyer about the ceiling camera over table 20. Check the footage from the week before the arrest. The wire wasn't ours. Her response comes immediately. Already forwarding to James Chen. Thank you. Then I turn my phone off, lean my head against the window, and let myself feel everything I've been holding back. Fear and hope and the terrifying knowledge that I've just tied my future to a man in detention who's fighting his way toward daylight. God help us both. The footage from table 20's ceiling camera changes everything. Dina calls me 4 days after my detention center visit, her voice carrying something I've never heard from her before, excitement barely contained by professional composure. Miss McDaniel. The camera you mentioned captured Raphael Mirandy's electronics specialist accessing the ventilation system on October 3rd, 11 days before Mr. Kendall's arrest. The timestamp, the face, the equipment, it's all there. I sink onto my couch, Riley playing with dinosaurs on the floor nearby. That proves the wiretap was illegal? It proves chain of custody was compromised and that a hostile third party had access to the surveillance equipment. Mr. Chen is filing an emergency motion to suppress all evidence derived from that wiretap. The hearing is Friday. What does Monty say? A pause. He says to tell you that you just saved his life, and that he owes you dinner in a place with better lighting. Despite everything, the stress, the uncertainty, the reporters still calling, I smile. Friday's hearing happens fast. I'm not there. Monty insisted I stay away from the courthouse, keep distance between myself and the legal spectacle, but Dina texts me updates throughout the afternoon. 2:47 p.m. Judge viewing footage now. Mirandy's attorney looks nervous. 3:15 p.m. Chain of custody officially compromised. Motion to suppress granted. 4:02 p.m. Prosecution requesting continuance. Half their case just evaporated. 4:33 p.m. Judge is not happy. Ordering investigation into how evidence was obtained. 5:16 p.m. Bail granted. Monty's being released tonight. I stare at that last message, reading it 3 times to make sure I understand. Released. Coming home. 1 step closer to daylight. Monty calls me that night from a phone that's actually his, not a monitored detention center line. Shirley. Just my name. But his voice carries exhaustion and relief in equal measure. I'm out. I heard. I'm in Riley's room, watching her sleep, phone pressed to my ear. How do you feel? Like I've been living under fluorescent lights for 2 weeks and forgot what windows look like. A pause. Thank you. For the camera. For visiting. For not running when you had every reason to. Where are you now? My attorney's office. Signing paperwork, planning next steps. The prosecution is scrambling without the wiretap evidence. Their case is mostly circumstantial and built on Mirandy's fabricated ledgers. His voice hardens slightly. James thinks they'll drop charges within a month once the forensic audits I authorized come back clean. And Mirandy? The FBI is very interested in how he obtained illegal surveillance equipment and why he was so invested in framing a competitor. His fall is just beginning. We sit in silence for a moment, just breathing on opposite ends of the line. Monty? The things you told me in detention. About getting out, about daylight. I meant every word. His voice is firm. I've already started. Liquidated 2 partnerships that couldn't be cleaned. Dissolved 3 offshore accounts. My new headquarters is a glass-walled office in the financial district corner unit. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Books so clean you could use them in an accounting textbook. No more gray corridors? No more gray corridors, he confirms. Just boring legitimate business. The kind where my biggest worry is quarterly earnings, not federal investigations. Sounds terrible, I say, smiling despite myself. It sounds like a life where I can take you to dinner without worrying the FBI is recording our order. A pause. Shirley, I know this isn't over. The trial might still happen. But I'm building what I promised you. What Riley deserves. What I should have built years ago. After we hang up, I check the locks, good locks, working locks, and realize that for the first time in 2 weeks my hands aren't shaking. The Gilded Vine reopens 3 weeks later. The health and safety review found nothing wrong. The restaurant's operations were always legitimate, even when the man behind the ownership structure wasn't. Marco calls personally to offer me my section back, his voice careful. You don't have to come back, Shirley. I'll understand if you want distance from all this. I think about it. Really consider it. The gossip will be brutal. Every tip will be scrutinized. I'll always be the waitress Kendall kept, regardless of the truth. But I also think about Riley's tuition, about the satisfaction of work done well, about refusing to let shame dictate my choices. I'll be there Tuesday, I tell Marco. Same section. You're sure? I'm sure. Tuesday night, I arrive at the Gilded Vine expecting whispers and sideways glances. I get both. But I also get Sasha the bartender squeezing my shoulder and saying, "Good to have you back." Miguel in the kitchen saving me the best plating for my tables. Marco assigning me section 3 without hesitation, the banquettes under the chandelier, the wine wall glowing like a cathedral. My section. Where this all started. At 5:10 p.m. exactly, Monty walks through the entrance. But everything is different now. He's not alone but not hidden. One bodyguard, professional but discreet, sitting 2 tables away. Monty wears a charcoal suit instead of his signature red, the color of legitimate business rather than dangerous elegance. And when the maitre d' approaches to seat him, Monty says clearly, audibly, "Table 17, please." Shirley's section. Not the shadowed corner booth. Not the table that offered concealment and perfect sight lines. Just a table in the middle of the dining room, under the chandelier's full light, where everyone can see exactly who he is and what he's doing here. Having dinner, like a normal patron. In his own restaurant, I approach with my notepad, professional smile firmly in place, acutely aware that every eye in the room is tracking this interaction. "Good evening, Mr. Kendall." I keep my voice steady, neutral. "Welcome back. Thank you, Shirley." His dark eyes hold mine, and I see exhaustion there, but also something lighter. Relief, maybe. Or hope. "It's good to be back. The usual?" "Actually, no." He sets down the wine menu without opening it. "What do you recommend? Your actual favorite. Not what you think I want to hear." The question is so quintessentially Monty testing whether I'll be honest or perform that I almost laugh. "The 2016 Brunello," I say. "It's less showy than the Burgundy, but it's what I'd drink if I could afford it." "Then that's what I'll have." He leans back, and I notice his shoulders aren't carrying the same tension they used to. "And Shirley, when your shift ends, would you join me for coffee? Just coffee, in public, no shadows." The request is so simple, so normal, that it takes me a moment to recognize it for what it is. A man asking a woman to coffee. Not rescue, not complicated entanglement, just coffee. "I'd like that," I say quietly. His smile is small but genuine. Good. The night unfolds with surreal normalcy. I work my section, take orders, deliver meals, remember allergies and preferences, collect tips that are generous but not suspiciously so. Monty eats dinner slowly, working on a tablet between courses, looking up occasionally to catch my eye across the room. It's ordinary, boring even. It's everything I didn't know I wanted. When my shift ends, I change out of my uniform and meet Monty at a table by the window. The bodyguard has relocated to the bar, giving us space while remaining present. "How was work?" Monty asks as I slide into the seat across from him. "Exhausting. Someone reserved the entire back room for a birthday party and didn't mention the shellfish allergy until after appetizers were served. Sounds complicated. It's a restaurant. Complicated is the job description." I accept the coffee he ordered for me, cream, no sugar, the way he somehow knows I take it. "How was your day? Any federal investigations?" "None today." His mouth quirks. "Just boring meetings about shipping logistics and real estate development. Thrilling stuff. Sounds terrible. It really is." He takes a sip of his espresso. "Shirley, I wanted to ask, would you and Riley like to have dinner this weekend? Somewhere casual. Maybe that Italian place near your apartment that Riley mentioned." The invitation catches me off guard. "Riley mentioned a restaurant to you?" "She wrote me a letter." He pulls out his phone, shows me a photo of lined paper covered in 6-year-old handwriting. "Dear Mr. Monty, thank you for helping my mama. Mama says you like fancy food, but Donatella's has really good breadsticks. Love, Riley." My throat tightens. "When did she—" "Dina received it last week." I wrote back. He swipes to another photo, neat handwriting on proper cardstock. "Dear Riley, I would love to try Donatelli's breadsticks sometime. Perhaps we could all go together? Your friend Monty." "You're asking my 6-year-old daughter on a dinner date." "I'm asking if I can spend time with both of you," Monty corrects gently. "In daylight. In public. As someone who cares about your family and wants to be part of it. If you'll let me, Saturday evening, we meet at Donatelli's. It's not the Gilded Vine, it's red checkered tablecloths and breadsticks in paper-lined baskets and marinara sauce that's probably from a jar. But Riley loves it. And watching Monty navigate her endless questions about his watch. Swiss automatic, 17 joules, water-resistant to 100 meters. While trying to twirl spaghetti properly is the most charming disaster I've ever witnessed. "Mr. Monty, do you have any kids?" Riley asks between bites of buttered noodles. Monty glances at me, checking if this conversation is okay. I nod slightly. "No, I don't," he answers honestly. "But I had a sister who was going to have a baby. She died before the baby was born, and I've always wished I could have been an uncle." Riley processes this with 6-year-old logic. "That's really sad." "It is." Monty's voice is quiet but steady. "That's one reason I like spending time with you and your mama. It reminds me that families come in lots of different shapes. Like how it's just me and mama?" "Exactly like that." Riley beams, then returns her attention to her noodles. Crisis of understanding resolved. Monty meets my eyes across the table, and I see the awkwardness there. The careful navigation of a man who's used to controlling situations but has no idea how to talk to a 6-year-old about loss and family and hope. It's imperfect and honest and so far from the controlled elegance of the Gilded Vine that I fall a little more in love with him right there, in a restaurant with paper napkins and breadsticks that Riley insists on sharing. Later that night, after Riley's asleep and Monty has said goodnight at my door. No coming inside, no assuming, just a careful kiss on my cheek and a promise to call tomorrow. I stand at my window looking out at the city. The wine wall at the Gilded Vine glows 3 blocks away, visible from my living room window. For months, it represented survival 6-hour shifts, calculated tips, smiles that hid exhaustion. Now it represents choice. I'm not timed by fear anymore, not counting hours until I can escape, not calculating whether I can afford tomorrow. I'm building something. With Monty, yes, but also for myself and Riley. A life that includes good schools and working locks and dinner at places with breadsticks. A life where being seen isn't dangerous, where accepting help isn't weakness, where love doesn't require shadows. The wine wall glows golden in the distance, and for the first time in years I'm not watching the clock. I'm watching the future. The charges are dropped on a cold November morning. Federal prosecutors cite insufficient evidence and compromised investigative procedures, legal language for Morandi fabricated half of it, and we can't prove the other half. Monty's forensic audits come back exactly as he promised. 3 years of documented transition from gray operations to legitimate holdings, every dollar accounted for, every business profitable on its own merits. The FBI shifts their focus to Rafael Morandi. whose illegal wiretaps and falsified documents make him a much more interesting target than a man trying to go straight. Monty calls me from his glass-walled office, and I can hear the smile in his voice. It's over, Shirley. Actually over. How does it feel? Like I can finally breathe. A pause. Are you working tonight? Day off. Riley's at a sleepover, her first one at her new school friend's house. Then spend it with me, Monty says quietly. No restaurant, no public performance, just us. I want to show you something. He picks me up at 7 in a car that's not the black sedan I've grown accustomed to. Just a normal vehicle, no security detail, no tinted windows. Monty behind the wheel himself, wearing jeans and a sweater, looking more like a man than a legend. Where are we going? I ask as he drives through the financial district toward the waterfront. Somewhere I've been thinking about since the day I sat in that detention room and you gave me terms I didn't know I needed. We park near the harbor, where the city's lights reflect off dark water, and the November wind carries the scent of salt and possibility. Monty leads me to a terrace overlooking the bay, empty at this hour. Just wrought iron benches and the distant sound of boats creaking against their moorings. No chandelier, no wine wall. Just the city breathing around us, alive and indifferent and beautiful. This is where my father proposed to my mother, Monty says, hands in his pockets looking out at the water. 40 years ago, before the money, before the business got complicated, when it was just two people who wanted to build something together. I moved to stand beside him, our shoulders almost touching. Why are we here, Monty? Because I want to do this right. He turns to face me fully. No restaurants I own, no apartments I arranged, no scholarships I funded. Just honesty in a place that has nothing to do with power or control or anything except choice. My heart starts beating faster. Monty, let me say this first. He takes my hands in his, and I can feel the slight tremor their nerves, from a man who's never nervous. The audits are complete. Every business is clean. I've formally exited the remaining partnerships that couldn't be legitimized. My headquarters is glass-walled by design. Anyone who wants can see exactly what I'm doing, and what I'm doing is boring, legal, and profitable. I know, you told me. I've also endowed a scholarship fund at Brighton Charter. He continues as if I haven't spoken, as if he needs to get all of this out before he loses courage. $5,000 annually, administered under Riley's name, for children of service industry workers. So what I did for her, she can do for others. Legacy, not just charity. My throat tightens. Monty, I bought a house. The words come faster now. Nothing ostentatious. 3 bedrooms, good neighborhood, a backyard where a 6-year-old could play, close to Brighton Charter, close enough to the gilded vine that you could walk to work if you wanted, though you'd never have to work again if you didn't want to. I want to work, I interrupt. I like my job. It's mine. I know. His smile is soft, understanding. That's why the house has space for you to come home to, not a cage to keep you in. But Shirley, here's what I really need you to know. I'm not offering you money or safety or solutions to problems you've already learned to solve yourself. Then what are you offering? Partnership. He reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out a small box. Honesty, doors that lock, and a future where neither of us has to hide. Where Riley grows up knowing her mother chose someone who chose daylight. Where I get to build the life I should have wanted all along. He opens the box, revealing a ring-simple band. Small diamond, the kind of ring someone could wear to work without it catching on things or feeling ostentatious. A waitress's ring. A working woman's ring. Shirley McDaniel. Monte's voice is steady, but his eyes carry every vulnerability he's spent his life learning to hide. Will you marry me? Not because I can make your life easier, you've proven you don't need me for that. But because maybe, together, we can build something better than either of us could alone. The harbor wind pulls at my hair, carries the sound of water against dock pilings, and I look at this man who's been watching over me since before I knew I needed watching. Who spared Caleb out of guilt and stayed out of something more complicated. Who sat at my table for months just to see me work because watching me reminded him the world was fixable. Who went to detention and came back choosing daylight. I have conditions, I say, and his mouth quirks slightly. Of course I do. Name them. I keep working as long as I want. The job is mine, not something you gave me. Agreed. Riley knows the truth about how we met. All of it. When she's old enough to understand, we tell her everything, the watching, the guilt, the transition. No sanitized fairy tale. Agreed. And Monte? I step closer. No more secrets. Ever. I don't care if you think it will protect me. The second you hide something, we're done. No more secrets, he promises. Even the boring ones about shipping logistics and quarterly taxes. Especially those. I'm smiling now, tears tracking down my face. I want the boring life, Monty. The glass-walled office and the clean audits and the man who comes home at reasonable hours. I want that too. His hands frame my face, thumbs brushing away tears. So is that a yes? Yes. The word comes out steady, certain, chosen. Not because you're perfect. Not because this will be easy. But because you chose daylight, and I want to stand in it with you. He slides the ring onto my finger. Perfect fit, of course, because Monty plans everything and then he's kissing me, and it's nothing like the desperate kiss in the alley after Caleb's confrontation. This is promise and partnership and the future we're building together, sealed under harbor lights with no shadows between us. When we finally pull apart, Monty rests his forehead against mine. Thank you for not giving up on me, for visiting me in detention, for giving me terms that made me better. Thank you for timing your nights to mine, I whisper. For watching over Riley when I didn't know she needed watching. For choosing us over Empire. We stand on the harbor terrace, engaged and honest and terrifyingly hopeful, while the city breathes around us and the water reflects 1,000 lights that used to feel distant but now feel like home. 6 months later, Riley's first day at Brighton Charter happens on a bright April morning that feels like validation. She wears her new uniform navy skirt, white polo, sneakers that actually fit, and clutches a backpack containing 3 dinosaur books she insisted on bringing, for educational purposes. Monty drives us in his normal car, still no security detail, still just a man taking his family to school, and when we pull up to the entrance, Riley turns to both of us with 6-year-old seriousness. You're both coming in, right, to meet my teacher? Both of us, I confirm, catching Monte's eye in the rearview mirror. We're not married yet. The wedding is planned for June, small ceremony, Riley as flower girl, but we're already a unit, already family. Miss Brennan greets us in the hallway, and if she notices the ring on my finger or recognizes Monte from news coverage 6 months ago, she's professional enough not to mention it. Riley! Are you ready for your first day? Very ready. Did you know that the school's foundation was laid in 1952, which means the building is 73 years old, and probably the oak tree in the playground is even older? I didn't know that, Miss Brennan says with genuine delight. You'll have to research it for your first science project. Riley beams and heads into her classroom without looking back, confident, excited, exactly the way a 6-year-old should start school. Monty takes my hand as we walk back to the car. She's going to thrive here. I know. I squeeze his fingers. Thank you for making this possible. We made it possible, he corrects. You kept her safe and curious for 6 years before I ever appeared. I just helped with the logistics. The Gilded Vine, Saturday night. I'm back in Section 3, the banquettes under the chandelier, the wine wall glowing like a cathedral. 6 months later, and the gossip has finally faded into background noise. I'm just Shirley again, good server, reliable, the one who remembers allergies and never forgets to check if someone needs a water refill. Except now, when Monty arrives at 5:10 p.m. exactly, he doesn't sit at a shadowed corner table or play at being just another patron. He sits at table 17, in the middle of the room, wearing a red suit because I told him once that I loved the way he looked in it. One bodyguard at a discreet distance. Monty's world will never be entirely without protection, but it's protection, not concealment. Good evening, Mr. Kendall, I say with professional warmth, notepad ready. Your usual? Actually, I was hoping you could recommend something. His eyes hold mine, dark and warm and completely honest. What would you drink if you were celebrating good news? What's the good news? The scholarship fund received its first applications. 23 kids from service industry families. We'll be able to help 5 of them this year. My chest tightens with pride. Then I drink the 2017 Barolo. It's elegant but not showy. Celebrates accomplishment without making a spectacle. Perfect. He sets down the wine list. And Shirley? When your shift ends, come home. Riley's already asleep at the house, but I made dinner. Just the 2 of us, talking about boring things like quarterly taxes and whether we need to repaint the guest room. Sounds terrible, I say, smiling. It really is. His answering smile is everything promise and partnership and a future that includes breadsticks and dinosaur facts and quiet evenings after shift's end. I deliver his wine, serve my other tables, and move through the familiar rhythm of work I chose, not work I needed. When I pass the wine wall, it catches light and glows golden, and I remember standing in an alley telling myself 6 hours, smiles only, don't count on anyone. Now I count on locks that work and schools that challenge, and a man who sits in daylight waiting for my shift to end. Now I count on partnership. At 11 p.m., I clock out, change into street clothes, and meet Monty by the entrance. The wine wall glows behind us, the chandelier casts its warm light, and somewhere in a house with a backyard and working locks, Riley sleeps peacefully in her own room. Monty takes my hand, the one with the simple ring that fits under work gloves, and we walk out into the November night together. No secrets between us. No shadows left to hide in. Just two people who found each other across a dining room, who chose honesty over ease, who built a future one shift, one choice, one moment of daylight at a time. Ready to go home? Monty asks. I look back at the Gilded Vine one last time, the restaurant where a single mom in a yellow uniform met a man in a red suit, where danger and devotion first shared a table, where everything began. Then I turn toward the future we're building. I'm ready. And we walk into the night, toward the house with the backyard, toward Riley dreaming of dinosaurs, toward the life we chose together, honest, ordinary, and lit from within like the wine wall glows when the shift begins, and everything feels possible. The chandelier warms to gold behind us. The Red King walks beside his waitress. And finally, there are no secrets left between them. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.